Hey y'all, so have you ever wondered what the benefits of being an RA are? When I refer to RA, I mean resident advisor, resident assistant, community advisor, community assistant, and RA in the dorms. Being an RA in college is a big time commitment, and I would argue it's pretty much a full-time job. You're doing school while also doing a position that takes up so much of your time. RAs actually live where they work, so that provides a very unique dynamic. But what really do students have to gain by being an RA? There are tangible, physical things that they can gain by being an RA, and there's also a lot of soft skills or resume building skills that they can take onto any future career that they choose to do. Now, the RA job is a big commitment, but the benefits truly can outweigh that commitment if you're dedicated and it fits into your lifestyle. If you're new here, my name is Shannon. I post new videos to my YouTube channel every Monday and Friday. Monday videos are my college series. I focus on everything college. I've worked for over 12 years in the college atmosphere, so working in on-campus housing, the dorms, working in scholarships within financial aid, and working on behind the scenes with donors creating scholarships for students. So all my Monday YouTube content is based off my personal experiences working at multiple colleges across the country and giving you all the insider tips that I can to help you support your student. So let's dive on in. What are the most common benefits of being an RA? So the most common benefits of being an RA are typically, depending on the school, are free bedroom. Most schools are going to provide a private free room for your student, and that anywhere could be $5,000 to $15,000 versus a value. Remember, living in the dorms is always more expensive than it is living off campus, but that saves a lot of money for your student. Additionally, most RA positions also come with a free meal plan. So your student is provided a free room, and then they're also provided a meal plan so they're able to eat on campus in the on-campus eating facilities. Now, this is a fantastic benefit when you think about it. That is such a huge expense of college. Being able to live for free, so rent is covered, utilities are covered, internet, gas, water, power, all the things. Typically, if your student's living in a traditional dorm style community, their bathrooms are cleaned by custodial staff, so they don't even have to worry about that or buy toilet paper or cleaning products. They just need their own showering products. And then let's talk meal plans. Now, regardless of the size of the meal plan, that is still free food. It may not always be the student's favorite food, but there's tons of tips and tricks and ways to make dining work for them and make them be able to even make their own dishes within the dining hall. Free housing and free food is an amazing compensation package. These two benefits alone typically cut the cost of college in half, taking away all of those living expenses. Now, a free room and free meal plan are the most common compensations for an RA, but depending on the school, there may be additional or adjustment of those compensation packages. So let's dive in and cover those. So depending on the school, they may not be able to provide your student with a completely free single room. So the other options they may provide are living for free but in a double room, so sharing the room with one roommate. I've only heard of a few schools doing this, but it is a cost-saving option for the school when they need to do it. Some schools provide a reduced housing rate, so your student would still get a single room, but they are still paying somewhat for it, but at a very reduced rate, so it's not as expensive as paying for a single room. Some schools will provide either a smaller meal plan instead of a full everyday meal plan, so one that's about half time, which truthfully, students don't eat in the dining hall to use their entire meal plan, so getting a smaller meal plan isn't that big of a deal because your student's still going to want to eat off campus. They're still going to want to cook for themselves, eat meals elsewhere. Or schools might provide a reduced rate meal plan, so they could get the larger meal plan, but they do pay a smaller little cost for it to be able to have that full meal plan. Depending on the school, they might also offer a tuition scholarship. So this is special. Most schools don't do this anymore, but every now and then a few schools do provide a tuition scholarship. If your student's making the GPA requirements and they're doing a good job within the position, they could get a scholarship. Some schools provide a stipend. So depending on the school, they have different requirements for this, but a stipend really means they are getting paid a flat rate amount, whether that is per month, per quarter, or per semester. Some schools even make students earn their stipend. So what that means is at one school that I talked with when I was living in Arizona, their students actually had to, every month, if they met their requirements or not, determined if they got their stipend for the next month. So talk about accountability. Like, you want to earn your money, so you'll get your tasks done. So stipends are another possibility. There may also be the opportunity to work additional paid hours in an on-campus housing job or another on-campus job. Many schools, if they have a community front desk for their dorms, if they have the community mailroom, sometimes the central office, they will provide RAs with opportunities to work those hours before they go and hire out additional staff to work those locations. So your student could be working more hours at those locations than required. Some schools will have a requirement that your student has to work a few hours. So like at a few schools, they'll require that their RAs have to work 4 hours at the community front desk. Really, that's a great opportunity for residents to know where their RA is and to come ask them questions, get themselves ingrained with the community. But then they have the opportunity to add additional hours if they'd like to work that. Now, quick little clarification, in the US, students are only allowed to work up to 20 hours per week at any on-campus job, and that means all combinations of on-campus jobs. So if they have a job working the community front desk, but they also work for the front desk of a department for their major department, between those two, they can only work 20 hours. Now, that is a requirement from the federal government where they believe students should only be working part-time. It's factored into financial aid. It's a lot of hoopla, but that is unfortunately the reality of working on campus jobs, is you can only work up to 20 hours per week for paid hourly positions. So let's talk about some of those non-physical benefits of being an RA. The first one that always comes to mind for me is connections to campus. RAs are true campus resources. So RAs will always have training throughout the academic year prior to school starting, each semester or quarter, as well as sometimes additionally over the summer or throughout the school year, where they are learning all about campus resources. They're meeting the actual people in the offices. They're learning what the campus resources have. They're working the front desk or working different areas on campus and get so connected that if they need a resource, they either already know about the resource to be able to help themselves, or they know exactly where to go to find it. So being involved in the RA position gets them super connected to all these on-campus resources. So if they personally have any issues, they know where to go. They know who to talk to. They know where to get that information and those resources for themselves. And for many students, this benefits their overall academic journey. They know about the tutoring center and how they need to get help for a class. They're gonna go to the tutoring center. They know it's not a scary place. They know about the counseling center if they need counseling, the health center. They know all those things. And so really, they can help support themselves on their own college journey if they use the resources they know about. Now, building lifelong relationships. This is a big one. You are super bonded, whether that's trauma bonded or fun bonded, with your fellow RAs. You go through so much together. You go through training. You go through dealing with residents, the ups, the downs. You go with addressing policy violations or emergency situations together. You are truly bonded. Whether or not you talk to your fellow RAs once you leave the position every day or not, friend groups form, but you're always gonna have that bond. So when you see them out and about, you have reunions, you're always gonna feel that camaraderie and feel that it's someone else you can go to if you need to. I'd also say in general, being an RA is like a universal club. So when you are in different friend groups and social situations and you find out someone else was also a previous RA, it's an easy icebreaker way to swap stories. It just makes it so much fun to be like, oh my gosh, what happened at your college? What were the requirements? What things happened at your school? Was residents breaking policy all the time? Were they always intoxicated? Did wild things happen? Sharing and swapping those stories, it becomes something that is so fun to share because you're bonded with people who even have the same job at other schools. So it's a great icebreaker, great way to make friends, friend groups, and just connect with other people. Now, the biggest aspect of the RA job for benefits is really the professional skills your student's gonna learn. And I like to call these all the soft or resume building skills. These are things that they are just gonna inherently take on from the RA position into other positions, regardless of what the job is. These things will naturally come with them because they have been trained on them. They've experienced them multiple times, and they're really going to be able to help your student be able to shine in interviews when they need to give examples of things, or why they're new into a position and maybe in a probation period. These skills are going to help them be that professional in who that job is looking for. So let's talk through those. The first one is report writing. So RAs have to write reports for all issues they address. So really I'm talking about incidences or policy violations. So anytime a student is breaking policy, let's say they're breaking the alcohol policy for campus, RAs have to address that issue, but then once they're done addressing the issue, they have to go write a professional report, typically in third person, which is then going to go into the database for the college and be used for any conduct meetings those students need to go through for violating that policy. So these professional reports are written by the student staff, the RAs. They're taken into those conduct meetings, they're used as evidence in those conduct meetings, and they help the professional staff who are addressing those policy violations to be able to hold those students accountable. That's a lot of responsibility. So RAs are trained on how to write those reports. Now, personally, I have seen that transition to so many other jobs when you're needing to deal with other issues and report situations that happened, when you're needing to write professional reports for supervisors and report on what happened in the company, what's been going on, or just reports in general. Those skills really translate later on into writing professional documents, which is so helpful when you're new into the career field. You already have that foundation there. Same thing with professional emails. RAs are typically trained of how to write a professional email, whether that's their supervisors or other on-campus resources, and that is something that a lot of new professionals are lacking. Being able to not write like you're texting and write an actual like, hi so-and-so, address them politely with a greeting, talk about whatever ask or issue there is, questions, and provide a nice closer to that email makes such a difference in the professional world. I'd say the younger generations really have a tendency to write emails like they're texting, so there's a lot of shorthand, there's a lot of incomplete sentences, and that is very unprofessional in most workplaces. So having the skill of already knowing how to properly format an email does make a difference in your first few careers. Now this one is a big one, time management. Oh my goodness. To be successful in the RA position, you have to find and learn how to manage your time. Whether you are someone who lives and dies by your planner or your digital calendar, to-do list, you have to balance school, so actually going to class, schoolwork, the RA commitments of being in your building, duty, getting other requirements done like bulletin boards or door name tags, other requirements from your supervisors. There's a lot that you need to do for the job and for school and personal life every single day. And so already knowing how to balance all of those things and get tasks done on time by the deadlines makes a massive difference in the professional world. Now I know that sounds simple and you're like, well, they should already know how to do that. But for most students, all they've done is school, maybe sports and extracurriculars. Many students have not had to have a job with multiple competing deadlines. They may have worked retail, they may have worked in fast food, but they've not worked in something as dynamic that is integrated into their life like a normal career would be. And so this provides them that opportunity to really know, hey, I can do all these things. Here's how I have to prioritize or reprioritize my things to make stuff happen by the deadlines, whether that's personal, whether it's for the college and school, or whether it's for the position. Advertisement skills is also a skill they're learned for most RAs. They are going to be required to put on either programs or floor meetings for their students. They're going to have to create flyers and advertisement and maybe posters to get their students to come to these events. Or they're asked to make up advertisement for other events that are hosted by housing. And so this is a skill they're going to get to learn, whether they are using Canva or PicMonkey and other template companies to help them do that, or they're creating them on their own. It is always nice to know how to properly create a flyer and advertisement that will catch people's attention. You're double checking for spelling and grammar. You are then able to advertise and get people to things is great. Whether they may or may not use that in their job, or maybe one day if they're a parent and they want to be on a parent-teacher association, they could use that skill then. It's just nice to have an extra skill in their back pocket, even if that's not something they'll use day to day. Now, conflict management. In the RA job, you get so many opportunities to work on your conflict management skills. Now, this could be between roommates who are having roommate disagreements, whether they're keeping their room clean, borrowing each other's things. It could be between different students on the floor. It could be conflict management during emergency situations. Maybe a student is very upset that they had to evacuate the building during a fire alarm, and the RA is tasked with trying to calm them down and get them to still follow directions. Almost every single day in the RA position, your student's learning to manage conflict. And that is so helpful for their future career because, as we all know as adults, not all colleagues get along. Things happen, there's interpersonal relationships, so having those skills can be really great during meetings or day-to-day in the office. And then potentially if they want to be a parent one day, how to manage conflict with their children, cousins, or their own family members. It's really helpful, useful skills to be able to mediate those conversations and have respectful conversations. I'd say it also really helps with if they themselves are having conflicts with individuals, not just managing others, but how to manage themselves, how to really find the words to express how they're feeling and tell the other individual respectfully and try to navigate that conversation together and not just yelling when they're upset or shutting down when they're upset, really managing their own emotions with that. My last big one is public speaking. Now, RAs do a lot of public speaking, whether they are presenting at floor meetings or community meetings, whether they're presenting at RA trainings, because a lot of RA trainings have students present at them. So if you're a returner RA, you might be tasked at the next training to train the younger RAs on something. RAs may also be presenting at programs and presentations on campus, just getting comfortable outside of just maybe taking a communications class to speak to groups of people. Whether that's in large groups, one-on-one, or smaller groups, they're gonna have conversation examples all the time, which is fantastic for any career they're going into because they're most likely gonna have to talk to people, whether that's in small groups, individual, large groups. Just getting comfortable with talking to people and going into that conflict management, people they might not always agree with. They're gonna learn how to be neutral. They're gonna learn how to get people's attention through different avenues. Public speaking is just something they'll use in their day-to-day life to make their day-to-day life easier. Alrighty, y'all, so we have gone through all of the tangible and the resume building skills that RAs will learn. There are numerous more than what I just mentioned here today, but I just wanted to give you an overview of the most common ones. I supervise RAs at 3 different institutions. One's at a private school, one's at a community college, and one's at a state public school. And I can tell you the RA job at all of them was different, but also had the same themes. Students had the same challenges, they had the same successes. It all just depends on the school and their policies, but also on the student themselves. I'd say the benefits of the RA position can be amazing. They can change your student's life by not having to worry about maybe housing and food, and also have those resume building skills that will set them up for later on in life. But there also could be some challenges. In my next video, we're going to talk about the main challenges of the RA position that I saw as being a supervisor of RAs. So you and your student can really be prepared on what those positive things, the benefits, and the challenges are. So if they're interested in the RA job, really they can have a well-rounded view before they apply for the position. Now, even if your student is already a current RA, my next few videos are going to hopefully be able to help them succeed in their position as well. If you like this video and you would like more content, please feel free to follow me here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Every day, I post short form content on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and then my long form content on Mondays and Fridays. My Monday videos on YouTube are my college series, so as I mentioned earlier, scholarships, RA, on-campus positions, anything college-wise. And then Fridays are my more personal videos. They may be cleaning motivation, they may be tips and tricks from being a parent and a parent of younger kids. And so I am here as a resource to help you through your parenting journey and for you to help me. If you or your student has been an RA and there's any other benefits to the position I miss, please feel free to add them to the comment section below and help us add to our growing list that we already have. I hope you all have a wonderful day and I hope to see you next time.